We're now joined via Zoom by spokesperson for Women and Men Against Child Abuse, Ngaa Murombedzi. Ngaa, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I don't know how much of the previous report that we've just played you've heard, but those numbers of children who are impregnated at such a young age is shocking. But what is shocking is how we are afraid to say that those children were raped. A child of 10 and a child of 14 being pregnant should be unacceptable in this country.
100%. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me. I did catch the previous conversation, and before we get to the element of rape, the contributing factors that the speakers brought forward are a reality in South Africa, and those make children vulnerable to predators. And when we talk about the children that are under the age of 10, it's baffling that we even negotiate and classify that as teen pregnancy. That is not teen pregnancy. That is the rape of children. And these children's lives will never be the same. And we have to refer back outside of contributing factors to when we talk about statutory rape. Interestingly, today I sat in a court case, and to understand the element of statutory rape, there are many professionals that have to be involved because our children are exposed to sex. One of the speakers said children, in the absence of anything else to do, will take sex as a form of entertainment. And that is the reality. However, that is in the absence of the consequences. Children are not psychologically able to understand what happens when they engage in sex. Then they break the barrier and they sleep with older persons. They cannot negotiate well-being during sex. So we are faced with a conundrum where we've got children being raped and it's being concealed. Then we have got children identified as learners engaging in sexual activity that is risky. They can only be identified in the schooling system. But the other group that we are neglecting, and the system has neglected them because outside of school, are children between 10 and 16 who find themselves pregnant in impoverished communities without access to any resource, not even schooling systems. So there's nobody who can intervene on their behalf. So if I can summarize it, I can say that it is a tragedy. It is a catastrophic tragedy, teenage pregnancy in South Africa.
And of course, we're talking about teenage pregnancies because it is the focus for this week's Child Protection Week, you know, just because of the staggering numbers. In fact, the WHO is saying that 12 million children under the age of 18 are pregnant each year. And not too long ago, we were collectively shocked when Gauteng Department of Health released that more than 23,000 girls, you know, between the ages in fact, under the age of 18, were impregnated or gave birth, you know, between 2020 and 2021. So just to give context there in terms of why we're talking about this, we haven't even gone to the murder of children. You know, just the other week, we were mourning with Mpumalanga about the killing of Bontle Mashiane, who was mutilated. Her mutilated body was found not too far from her home. She was 6 years old. Of course, she suffered the very same fate about 3 other children in her same street had suffered. You know, children are in danger in this country, and one doesn't actually know where to begin. So let's look at government as a start. Where are we failing?
You know, it breaks my heart that 2022, we sit here, we've dedicated 7 days to what we call quote unquote child protection. Because the reality on the ground is, I don't think even government can identify what plagues children in South Africa. The conversation relating to Bontle was linked to Muti killings, and it then expanded and it was denounced. That is a criminal act. Muti killing, traditional ritual, whichever way, it is something that should not happen. Then we look at teenage pregnancy, and we talk about 23,000 children. And I feel that if we say teenage pregnancy, we're really taking away from the severity of the punishment and sentence that a child is given at 10 years old, to be expected, when their physiology is not fully developed, when their psychology is not there, to be expected to carry a pregnancy. and then to deliver a child, because those same statistics that came out in 2021 were also records of live births. You imagine that 23,000 children in South Africa, extend that to 2 million children, are not going to have a future that they can control and make an active decision upon, because an adult has decided that they are sexually pleasing and they're okay with just ruining their whole life. So when we say government intervene, government is ill-informed and exceptionally out of touch with the realities. And that's where civil society steps in. And if we find an intricate balance where civil society can contribute, because a lot of it is gaps in research, actually not knowing what to do. Government needs to be informed what to do. When we talk about communities that are living in poverty, we have to engage them when we propose solutions to the challenges that they face. When we talk about teenage pregnancy, you know, when we were younger children falling into the age group of under 18s, our notion of sex was completely different to children who have survived COVID, who have lived 2 years and continuing under lockdown, who have access to exceptional resources. They understand sex completely different, and sex is more available to them. So if we try to apply measures just saying government intervene and government works just on the policies that they have, we are going to fail children. And if we create policies that are absent of the people that actually experience the realities, we're going to lose children. So when we talk about the killing of children, I'm not advocating for talking to perpetrators. I'm saying let's talk to communities. These children are protected children, but they are predators. Pregnant teens are protected in their homes. Some, yes, have got to exploit themselves to feed their families, but the large number fall prey to adults who know how to manipulate them. So the bottom line is any intervention must be informed by the end user, because the end user is an expert on their own reality. And expecting government to provide a top-down approach is going to give us the same results. 2023 will be back in the same week talking about what else we can do.
And unfortunately, I suppose you and I are talking about this because it is Child Protection Week, because we know just how massive this task is. And as you say, it's going to do and take more than just talking. Ngaa, that's all the time we have for this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. That was Ngaa Murombedzi from Men and Women Against Child Abuse as we commemorate Child Protection Week this week.